The year was 1956, and Winnipeg was in the midst of an artistic revolution.
There was something here way back when the people that were here had incredible foresight to start things. They were starters. They were pioneers in so many different ways. You think of pioneering in farming and other aspects of our economy, but you don't think of pioneers in the arts.
But from the very beginning, that imagination, that vision to create a theatre company was mired in skepticism and doubt.
There was a time when people said in Winnipeg that you could get more people out to a yo-yo contest than to a theatrical performance. They said we couldn't get professional actors in Winnipeg. Nobody would come here.
50 years ago, Manitoba Theatre Centre founders John Hirsch and Tom Hendry had a dream to bring live professional theatre to Winnipeg. Now, 5 decades later, their passion for provocative, innovative, and engaging theatre is still played out here at Centre Stage. Join us as we raise the curtain on a theatre that has touched the lives of those in the community and delighted audiences for half a century. It all started here in the heart of the city at the corner of Portage and Main, the site of the Dominion Theatre and home to 2 semi-professional theatre companies striving to make their mark on the Canadian prairies.
There's just something, special about Winnipeg. It's so unique, so different than the rest of the country. People think differently here too, which is amazing. That's why there's been so much creativity here.
The Winnipeg Little Theatre was already performing plays, but at the time the caliber of those shows wasn't quite at the professional level the artistic community strived for.
We were at a party complaining about the Little Theatre. They wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. And a ballerina, I think it was Eva Von Genshi, said, if it's so bad, why don't you start a theatre of your own?
And Theatre 77 was born, named because its front door was 77 steps from the corner of Portage and Main. In its debut year, Theatre 77 kicked off the season with the Italian Straw Hat, the first live theatrical performance in the city in over 3 decades.
In Winnipeg, it's a long way from everywhere else, and it was even further in those days, And not much came to town in the way of touring theatre or anything like that. And so it was something to do. And what we had to do was really impress on people that we were semi-professional and on our way to being professional.
For Hendry, a professional live theatre made sense. For Hirsch, it was something of a cultural necessity for a thriving city such as Winnipeg, rather than a luxury afforded only to those in continental Europe.
For us, it was a logical thing. It seemed odd to him, coming from Europe, that a city of roughly, getting on for 500,000, didn't have a theatre.
A year later, Tom Hendry and John Hirsch amalgamated Theatre 77 and the Winnipeg Little Theatre to form the Manitoba Theatre Centre.
Unbelievable. Yes, 50 years ago, somebody had the imagination to create the Manitoba Theatre Centre.
John and Tom had put together something that was full of life and vitality and youth and energy and goodwill, and there was a motor running.
In the 1965 documentary A Portrait of a Man and a Theatre, Hirsch reflected on the need for arts in society.
What is important above all is that the community should not look at the theater as an esoteric orchid-like plant, but as something everyday, important, and useful.
He was a visionary, and he and Tom Hendry based the Manitoba Theatre Centre on the work of a Frenchman named Roger Planchon, who was working outside of Paris and thought we should have one theatre where all the different genres can be performed and created.
But while it was John Hirsch's artistic vision and high performance standard that moved the company into the professional realm, it was the business savvy of his counterpart that kept the company afloat.
In the late 30s, there had been a company called the John Holden Players in the Dominion Theatre, and I used to go there and see these plays. They were wonderful at promotion, and it really stuck with me. In those days, you opened Ogilvy Oats, and out came a coupon said 25 cents off your ticket at the John Holden Players. And that stuck with me. So that when we did get going, I impressed on everybody. that selling the theatre is everything.
Word about the dynamic and professional theatre in the heart of the Canadian prairies began to spread, attracting theatre-goers from across the country, not to mention the attention of a well-known Toronto Daily Star critic by the name of Nathan Cohen.
We were trembling because he was a really nasty critic. And he just loved the theatre, and he couldn't believe. He said, how come a city like Winnipeg, in the middle of nowhere, has a terrific ballet company, pretty good symphony, a terrific theater? How come?
With its combination of dramas, comedies, musicals, and tragedies, and the Manitoba Theatre Centre's reputation to provide quality theatre for all types of audiences, it wasn't long before Hirsch and Hendry's theatre in the middle of nowhere was credited as becoming the first regional theatre in Canada, and a successful model for other regional theatres across the continent that would follow.
So we don't have a theatre just for the musicals or just for the classics or just for the new work, but one theatre that encompasses all of that.
And it's that commitment to provide a variety of high-quality theatrical performances that has continued to attract audiences for half a century.
We have a sophisticated, enthusiastic audience thanks to the almost 50 years of sophisticated and excellent theater art that our audiences have seen.
Up next, a look back at the actors who graced the stage when we continue.